They kind of shit the bed with this one. I'm Charm with the retro review of WCW Halloween Havoc 1992. If you take a look at this lineup, really, this should have been the best pay-per-view of the year. Even better than Great American Bash 1992, which I still hold up as my favorite because I love me some tag team tournament wrestling, and also Sting vs. Vader was goddamn great. But this really had a great lineup, and my god, there were a couple good matches on this, and there were a couple of really good matches that had such shit finishes that they pretty much nullified anything that happened in the ring beforehand. So, yeah, it's at the Philadelphia Civic Center. 7,000 people. Bill Watts was kind of running WCW into the ground. Even though he was cutting some of the costs, yeah, he didn't really know what the fuck he was doing at this point. The dark match, by the way, was Eric Watts and Van Hammer versus the Vegas Connection, Vinny Vegas, a.k.a. Kevin Nash, and Diamond Dallas Page. Before Diamond Dallas Page would leave the company for a couple years, go work the independents, and get a whole lot better. The fact that Diamond Dallas Page managed to be such a great wrestler into his mid-40s was goddamn amazing. So, Tony Schiavone and Bruno Sammartino host the show, so to speak. You know, they're talking about the various matches and everything, and Bruno lending a lot of credibility to this show. More credibility than it ended up deserving. Missy Hyatt is outside of Rick Rude's locker room and is not allowed in for the first time ever. They're making fun of the fact that apparently Missy Hyatt was known for sleeping around. I'm not knocking Missy. That's what everybody else was saying. Because I guess they were just having her play it up on TV. They really should have let Missy be Missy, because she could have been such a dynamic character on TV. JR and Jesse Ventura on commentary. JR's line. Jake says his big snake will be involved. If that isn't a summary of JR being horny on commentary, I don't know what is. Tom Zenk, Johnny Gunn, and Shane Douglas versus Arn Anderson, Bobby Eaton, and Michael P.S. Hayes. And man, the heels were massively cheered in Philadelphia. I don't know who Johnny Gunn is. He kind of looked like a discount Tom Zenk. And when you're a discount Tom Zenk, that's not really a good thing. When Shane Douglas is the best worker on your goddamn team, you know you're in trouble, because Shane was always great in tag teams, and as a singles wrestler, was fine in ECW and shit everywhere else. So yeah, the heels got cheered a lot. Lou Thesz press from Gunn, 1, 2, 3. Hayes got pinned, the crowd booed. It was really cool to hear Anderson, Hayes, and Eaton get cheered a lot during this. Now, it wasn't a bad match. I do want to say that. This actually was a pretty damn good opening match, despite the fact Tom Zenk and Johnny Gunn were on one of the teams. I have no idea what Johnny Gunn did to me, but, you know, again, discount Tom Zenk. Harley Race goes into Rude's locker room, and Missy Hyatt is just upset that she is not allowed in the men's locker room. Once again, they're making her play up the whole stereotype. Flying Brian versus Ricky Steamboat. Pillman was much more heelish, and then would later go full-on heel, team with Barry Windham against Dustin Rhodes and Ricky Steamboat a little bit later on. It's Starrcade 92 and one of my favorite matches in Starrcade history. And great fast-paced action to start, and then they slowed it down with some good heel work from Pillman and some aggression from Ricky Steamboat. Since he was starting to get like, you know, this motherfucker wants to be like this, I'm going to break him down. And then we get a roll-up counter for 3, but this was really good stuff. One of the best match, actually, I would argue the best match on the show, because it didn't have a dodgy finish. It was like 10 and a half, 11 minutes, really good action between two guys that were in their prime. Pillman rising up, and Steamboat, even though he would be gone from wrestling in a couple years, was still really goddamn good. And then Teddy Long interviews Chono about the referee selection with a couple of New Japan officials. I believe the NWA president as well, and Kensuke Sasaki is selected as his referee corner. You know, Power Warrior, the guy that teamed with Hawk and actually had a pretty damn good career in New Japan. Then Schiavone with Bill Watts, they were talking about the U.S. title situation. Big Van Vader is taking the place of Rick Rude to defend the U.S. title, so Rude doesn't have to work twice, basically, because he's got an NWA championship match a little bit later. And then it's Vader versus Nikita Koloff. U.S. title, no DQ match. Everybody barred from ringside. Everybody. The fans had to leave. It took a very long time for them to get rid of. No, I'm just kidding. Everybody in the corners was just barred from ringside, so it was one-on-one, no DQ. And that was an Ole Anderson rule. And basically, the only thing this was memorable for, there were some good power moves, don't get me wrong, but this is the match that ended Nikita Koloff's career. He took a clothesline that did herniate a disc in his neck, and he had to retire. Now, he could have had surgery and maybe he could have come back, but I'm sure he decided not to. Then he got into being a motivational speaker and found religion, and it worked for him, and great. It's unfortunate that the last few years of his career were, you know, he had good runs, but after his wife had passed away due to an illness, I don't remember what it was, he really wasn't the same, and nobody could be. I mean, you know, it was a terrible thing that he had to go through and his wife had to go through. But you wouldn't have been able to tell at first he herniated a disc in his neck, but yeah, you could kind of tell by the end. He could barely get him up for a suplex. He barely could do anything. It was obvious the adrenaline was wearing off, and then a Vader bomb, 1, 2, 3. Well, power bomb, not the Vader bomb. But 1, 2, 3. So Vader retains the championship for Rick Rude. And then we get Stunning Steve Austin and Dr. Death Steve Williams versus Dustin Rhodes and Barry Windham. Unified NWA and WCW Tag Team Championship match. Steve Williams, got Steve Williams. That's Steve Austin's real name, by the way, in case you don't know. Cue the Spider-Man meme. He got, Steve Austin to join him because Terry Bam Bam Gordy, Dr. Death's partner in WCW and also in Japan, I don't remember if it was travel restrictions or what they said, but he could not be there. And Steve Williams and Steve Williams turned out to be a pretty damn good team. I'm just going to roll with that because it's funny. And this is a really good tag match. It went the distance, it went for speed, and unfortunately the last 2 minutes is where they shit the bed on it. Now, they wanted to go to a time limit draw. They wanted to do a bit of a dodgy, thing where, the illegal man got pinned, and I understand that. So the match was really good for about the first 27 to 28 minutes. And then they had it where Windham was the illegal man but got pinned because the referee got knocked down, Nick Patrick got in. But Randy Anderson's like, no, Windham was the illegal man. So then they restart the match, and then we get another pseudo pin, but the bell's still ringing, so nobody knows what's going on. The match died right there. And it's unfortunate because the match was so goddamn good up to this point, but the finish just fucking nuked it. And it's a real shame given all the talents involved here. And then we get Paulie yelling at Medusa, tell her she's just a woman, and you're fired. He spells it out for her, and then he gets kicked down and everything. It was actually great to see Medusa beat the shit out of Paulie. And then Sting spins the wheel to make the deal. Oh boy, this is one of only 2 Halloween Havoc pay-per-views to have this. And then NXT is going to do it tomorrow. Yes, in case you are watching this after the next day. I am recording this just before NXT decided to bring it back. And I'm sure it's going to shit the bed just like this one. It lands on Coal Miner's glove. Oh boy, the crowd boos. Because not a lot of people know what a Coal Miner's glove match is. Though Ventura and JR explained to the people at home, and it's a pretty good way of explaining it. Rick Rude with Medusa versus Masahiro Chono with Hiro Matsuda. Kensuke Sasaki was the outside official, and Harley Race, 7-time, or rather 8-time with an asterisk, NWA champion, is the inside official. Because Harley Race did actually beat Ric Flair during 1984, but they just decided after Starrcade 83, months afterwards, but they decided not to recognize it. He still should be an 8-time champion, just like Ric Flair should be recognized as like a 22-time champion, so his record is never beaten. Because let's be honest, Ric Flair has won more than 16 world championships. So, here's the thing. Chono had a bad neck. Steve Austin had, injured him accidentally, not on purpose. And Chono was nursing a bad neck. And was going for, the victory here. He wanted to beat Rick Rude, as you would want to do in a championship match. The thing is, there were so many goddamn rest holds and so many slow spots. I didn't expect these guys to do head scissors and all this shit and all these flips. But my God, this match, it was 22 minutes and they should have cut it down by at least 7. It should have been 15. Eventually it picked up a bit, but Kensuke Sasaki, by the way, is outside the ring. And Chono's in the ring in the match. And at one point, Chono dodges a move from Rude. JR says, Sasaki backed away. JR couldn't even tell the difference between the Japanese wrestlers in 1992, much like he couldn't during his run as New Japan English commentator. So, yeah, JR has always been kind of an idiot when it comes to international talent. Just wanted to take a little bit of a shot at JR right there. And, yeah, referee bump. Race gets sent outside. Rude gets sent over the top rope onto both referees. And then, Sasaki has the STF, I believe, on Rude. Or not Sasaki. See, I just fucking did it. Sasaki saw the Chono had Rude with the, Rude in the STF and called for the bell. Oh, he's tapping out. But Race is like, no, I'm the inside official. Guess what fucking happened? He threw him over the top rope and that's it. We're fucking done. This is a DQ. And there we go right there. And then Sasaki attacks Race. Oh boy. We then get footage of Cactus Jack breaking concrete blocks over Barbarian's back. Ron Simmons versus the Barbarian with Cactus Jack. This should have been good. It was for the WCW Championship, and it wasn't any good at all. And that's sad, because the Barbarian wasn't a believable world title contender. He had just come off of a run in WWE. But yeah, there's a lot of wrist holds, a missed elbow. Took 5 minutes for him to execute it. Cactus interferes, throws Simmons in the back, or throws Simmons back in the ring. And then a headbutt for 2, power slam eventually from Simmons for 3, and that was it. And then we get Erik Watts cutting a promo for some reason. Erik Watts could not wrestle or cut a promo. Sting versus Jake Roberts, Cole Myers glove match. This is only notable for one thing. The crowd was booing it. They cheered when somebody would get to the pole because they wanted the match to end and for this fiasco to be over. But then Jake got his Cobra out. And then Sting, bumped Jake, and that caused the Cobra to bite Jake's face. And the words of Jim Cornette, when him and Brian Last are talking about on a podcast, when your snake turns on you, you know you made some bad life choices. And then Jake gets rolled up and, for the victory, while his snake is still attached to his face. Yeah, this was shit. Cactus Jack then takes him out of the ring, and there's this anti-venom that he's trying to get that's at ringside, by the way, but he takes him away from ringside. So they're having they had the anti-venom in 2 places or whatever, or Cactus Jack forgot what the fuck he was doing. Yeah, this is a bad spin the wheel, make a deal match. And fortunately, they would get a little bit better in the next year, Vader versus Cactus Jack, which I may retro-review that as well to hype up Halloween Havoc for tomorrow. Anyway, agree, disagree with what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm Charm Ritlin. I'll see you soon.